Favazz here with Steve Vai. Hello, Steve. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Where are you right now, in fact?
Right now, I'm in a little coffee shop in Milwaukee. I actually have the day off, and we have a show tomorrow in Milwaukee on the Steve Vai tour.
So how? First of all, before we get into you, how is the tour with Joe Satriani going? You'll be here in St. Louis on April 30th at the Factory.
Well, I have to tell you, and I don't mean to sound like I'm trying to hype this, but this is the best tour I have ever been on in my life. It is just fantastic because, well, first it's very easy because I play for an hour, Joe plays for an hour, and then we come out and we play together. And we're premiering a song that we recorded together, The Sea of Emotion.
Right.
And it's just so great because Joe and I, we go back to when we were young teenagers, and we would just sit and jam. He was my teacher when I was 12. And then we just, for years, we just would jam, sit back to back and play. And now we get to do this on stage, and we've done it through the years with G3, but now when it's just Joe and I, it's just so rewarding because we're so connected.
So, wait a minute. You were 12. How old was he when he was giving you lessons?
Oh, if I was 12, Joe was 15.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, but when you're 12, somebody that's 15 that can play like that is like a god,
I bet. So, all right. So, Steve Vai, you're a guitarist, a songwriter, a producer. You're even a Grammy winner. Do you sometimes forget that you won, 3 Grammys? I didn't know you were a Grammy winner.
Well, thanks. Well, winning a Grammy isn't something that you forget very easily.
No.
I've been very lucky. Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I actually have 13 nominations.
Oh.
And, yeah, it was. I was very involved with the Academy in the 90s and early 2000s and stuff. It's a great organization, and having a Grammy is a nice recognition for sure.
So when was the last time you won a Grammy? Maybe that's why I didn't know.
It was. You know what? I'm not good with dates, but it was probably 2010ish around there.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'd have to look it up. I'm bad at that stuff. When it comes to the past, I just kind of blur out.
We're talking to Steve Vai. He's going to be with Joe Satriani on April 30th at the Factory in Chesterfield. You got your start with Frank Zappa. And that's how with him, I started with Joe's Garage. That was the album that you started with. How did that come about?
Well, I was a fan because when I was young, I wanted to be a composer. And then I discovered Led Zeppelin, and I wanted to play rock.
And
guitar.
It was over with.
Yeah. But I started. I kept composing through my whole career, and as a matter of fact, in 22, I recorded about 4 hours of my orchestra music. I do orchestra shows all around the world, but most, only the deep fans know that. But when I heard Frank's music, when I was, 13, 14, it just had all these incredible elements. It had crazy guitar playing, crazy musicianship, high information music, beautiful melodies, humor.
Yes.
Drama
yes.
and blues, and Frank had everything going on. So I was very attracted to his music because even his rock music could be very compositional, and it was just rare. There was nobody like him. So I became a fan, and then one day I was in my bedroom practicing my guitar at 16, and a friend came and he said he had stolen a Rolodex. Because back then, that's how you kept phone numbers in a Rolodex from a studio in New York City, and it had all these celebrities' phone numbers. I couldn't believe it. He said, "I'm sitting there playing my guitar, and he's kind of like going through it. I got Keith Richards, and I'm like, oh, cool, Bob Dylan,
wow.
Bob Dylan, and I'm thinking, oh, that's interesting. I'm not going to call these guys. And then he gets to the Z's, and there's Zappa, and it stopped me dead in my tracks. I said, you do not have Frank Zappa's home phone number. And he did, and I just called, and it was so interesting because his wife answered, and Gail, and when I got to know Gail later on, the fact that she took this call was remarkable,
right?
Because I said, I'm a fan, I'm 16, and I just want to talk to Frank, and she said, well, Frank's on tour, call back in 6 months. So that was it, I thought, okay. So I called back in 6 months. She goes, well, Frank's still on tour, call back in 6 months. So I did this for a couple of years. And then I was at Berkeley. I was 18, and it was time to call Frank again, and he actually picked up the phone.
Wow.
And I caught him in a great mood, and he was just very kind, and he allowed me to send him. My in was, he was a Edgar Varese fan, Edgar Varese, contemporary composer. And I had Edgar Varese scores from the Boston Public Library. So I said, I'd like to send you these scores. And the tape of my band, of course, So I sent him a bunch of stuff, and also a transcription that I did of a very dense piece of music that he wrote called The Black Page. And, there was enough there that he wanted to audition me for his band. But when I told him I was 18, and he said, well, forget it, So I waited till I was 20, and the day after my birthday, I moved out to California and started working with him.
Wow. You just made me think of some of the lyrics that Frank had. Catholic girls with the tiny little mustache.
Yeah, Frank was that guy. Very irreverent.
We're talking to Steve Vai. Who did you have more fun with, David Lee Roth or Whitesnake?
Well, both groups of guys were wonderful guys.
Yeah.
And they're dear friends. I think probably I would say, as far as rock and roll extravagance and that whole scene, Dave Roth really knew how to throw a party.
Yeah, I bet he did.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sea of Emotion is the new song that Steve has along with Joe Satriani. You can check out the video is funny.
Yeah. Joe's son did that, ZZ.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and we had the song, and everything. The first, Joe and I decided to do this tour, and then that led to, let's have some new music, and that now led to, hey, let's make a record, and that's leading to some kind of tour, hopefully in the future. But when I got these when we started working on these first three songs, we were pulling from our youth and things that we were connected with in our youth, but because we grew up in the same town.
Right.
And, like I had mentioned, I started taking lessons from Joe, and like a lot of the kids in the town, when I was 12, and did that for years with Joe. And so he was a little older, so he was he hung out with a different group of people. But there's this area in our town that was sort of like this huge field, and it was in between all the schools, and it was like a teenage hangout, and where we did all sorts of, mischievous, nefarious things as teenagers.
We all know. And we've all done them.
Yeah, we all know. And it's called the Sea of Emotion. We called it the Sea of Emotion because we'd sit there all night and just, discover the secrets of the universe like teenagers do.
Right, yeah.
And so that was the sort of the launching point to write the songs.
So you mentioned that you and Joe are going to have an album, a complete album?
Yeah,
wow.
That's what we're working on. We have 3 songs virtually completed, recorded, and we're working on. We got just ideas for about 4 or 5 more. The challenge is right now we're on tour, and you can't do anything really when you're on tour. And then as soon as we get off tour, Joe's going out with Sammy, and I'm preparing for the Beat tour that I do all through the fall.
Right.
And then, so after that, I think we'll be, reconvening at the beginning of 25 to complete the record, and hopefully it'll be out mid-25.
All right. Steve Vai, along with Joe Satriani, they're going to be at the Factory in Chesterfield on April 30th. He's going to do an hour. Joe's going to do an hour. And then how long will you guys play together?
Oh, I think it's probably about 20, 30 minutes.
Wow, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So we can't wait. And Steve Vai, I just wish I had you in person rather than on the phone. But it was a thrill talking to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the support, and we're really looking forward to the show.
And thanks for taking my call at a coffee shop in Milwaukee.
You got it. Right on, brother.
Okay.